Hello? Yeah. Oh, record பண்ணலையா? பண்ணலையோ தெரியாது. ச்சீ. எங்க போச்சு அது? Oh goodness. ஒண்ணே இருக்கே. I wanted to go back to that thing. கொஞ்சம் இது எடுங்க. Sharing on. அது ஒரிஜினல் விண்டோ. இது இல்ல. இல்ல இல்ல ஒரிஜினல் இது எல்லாம் போயிடுச்சு. ஜூமுக்கு எப்படி போறது?
கூகுள்ல
அதான் கூகுள் இல்லையே, இது ஒன்னே தான் இருக்கு.
இல்ல இல்ல
ஓ அதுல இருக்கு. ரெக்கார்டிங் பண்றது இல்லை. Okay. Yeah. Where are we right now? See, originally I had planned on FE Basics only for two sessions, but it's getting delayed and with all the thing, etc. But I'll guarantee you that today will be the hopefully the last day. But nonetheless, the reason that I'm belaboring on this thing is because, see, here is the latest updated schedule that I have, okay? And you can see that where are we right now? So we are here, okay? Now, and after that, I mean, you already will have an assignment that is gone out, okay? Where you will be required to train a DNN, and the same DNN that you will use to verify some properties, okay? And today, or at least by tomorrow, I will also have another assignment where it will be a pencil and paper assignment that will test you on all the, to make sure that you've understood the concepts that we have covered as part of FE Basics, okay? Now, here is what I really intend to test you on that, in that assignment. And there is a reason, okay? So this is what we have learned so far is, how to represent, use predicates and formulas to represent states and so on. So that's important for you to understand. A little bit of Hoare triples because you've covered that, and then problems to test doing forward and backward proofs using SSAs and so on, and the notion of loop invariance and problems for testing what I'm going to be covering today. Okay, now The reason that if some of you are getting a little bit, frustrated with this thing, this is all this course is about. See, what I'm covering today, so there'll be the next, after today's lecture, and a couple of, two more lectures, okay? So here, what I'll be covering today, see, you need to understand will be important. See, from here is where you will be actually looking at, from here, okay? So some tools for for doing, these are state-of-the-art tools for doing real verification of properties of neural networks, okay? Now, this one, Deep Poly and Lin-Sin, actually use concepts from what I'll be covering today, which I briefly introduced last time, okay? Like doing, abstract interval propagation and so on. So it is important that you understand this. And that's why I ask for your patience to try and understand. Because if you don't understand that, not only will you not be able to understand what is, inside, what are the kinds of techniques that are used in these tools. And sometimes you may not even be able to use those tools on real designs. So while you may not need all the technical details, okay, that I'm covering, that is for, someone who wants to get into verification techniques, okay, which is something, for example, on this particular topic of abstract interpretation, in my other course on software verification, I spend almost 1/3 of the course, okay, in doing it. I mean, covering all the theory and so on. And, this is the first time I'm covering that, trying to rush through that so that you'll be able to, I want to get to where you will be, after getting introduction to these tools, you will be reading some of the papers, which might be some more advanced techniques that build, that enhance the capability of Deep Poly and Lin-Sin, for example. Now, the thing that I'm worried about is that you may not be able to understand that paper, okay? In any case, if I don't cover, you will have to spend quite a significant amount of time in trying to do, if that is the paper that you end up choosing. In any case, since I want you to, see, 50% of the course, I mean, like 40% of the course is for reading the paper. There is the other, 50 to 60% of the course, where I want you to understand the techniques behind these tools and give you exposure to using those tools to actually doing verification. As I mentioned, stated right in the beginning of the course, that is also one of the goals of this course. In order for you to do that, in a thorough fashion, I think this is required. Okay, so bear with me, and like I said, maybe some of you have already know about simplex decision procedure, the famous simplex algorithm, but maybe some of you are not aware. Okay, simplex is so in order to understand reluplex, which is one of the one of the techniques that are used very popularly to verify DNN. So you need to understand that. Okay, now and similarly, so for example, this one. Okay, now you could maybe not need to, but that is like the core of what happens inside Z3 SAT solving. Okay, I think when I discuss that paper, maybe you will feel like, oh, what is this guy? What is this guy to do with a DNN verification? Now, for example, if you're now, as part of your assignment, you will be using Z3 to verify that. Okay, so Z3 inside that has a simplex decision procedure, and then it interacts with something, what I will be describing as a SAT solver, to actually help you verify properties about DNN. Now, one of the things now, ReluPlex is something that is specialized for DNN, okay? And the claim made by ReluPlex, which is part of this tool called Marabou, okay, which is what you will be using. The claim made by the people who authored that, architected that Marabou tool is that it is better than Z3 for verifying DNNs. Okay, now that is something that is not so black and white. Okay, so the question is, when you use Marabou, you need to get the thing. I mean, after all, you can use Z3 for that. Why do you can use Z3 for doing it, whatever the depoly does, and Marabou does, which uses ReluPlex. Now, unless you know a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses, some technical details of this thing, you will not be able to appreciate. Okay, the thing. So this is a course where you will be getting hands-on, but then I want you to go away with some understanding of what the strengths and weaknesses of these tools are from an actual technique, a little bit of theoretical point of view, as well as when you actually do the verification, maybe the same examples you can try in 3 different tools and see it for yourself, where one works better than the other. Okay, so that is the idea, for which you will, we need to have this thing. Now, so like I said, I'll go back to the thing. What I covered, what I covered in 1/3 of the course, I'm trying to cover in 1 or 2 lectures. Okay, so that is a little bit of challenge for me as well, and for you, you may get the feeling, you understand a little bit, but not completely. Okay, that may be a little bit frustrating to you, but I think as you use the tool, okay, depoly, and you then you can kind of go back and refer either to all the slides that I have and some of the reference material that I will be providing to you. This is actually a book called Verified Deep Learning, which has 1 chapter on abstract interpretation. Maybe you can go back, and then if you indeed when you either when you listen to the lecture on depoly, you can go back and then refer to it. So by filling in some of the details that I will not be able to cover today. Okay, so that is the idea. Now, but one thing that I got worried when you asked this question. If this is not an advanced machine learning course, okay, if that's what you're expecting, okay. Okay, well, advanced verification, then you should take my software verification course, okay, next semester. So then I will go detail, not only into model checking, but all this thing. Here I want to cover enough material here, so that way you will be feeling frustrated if that's what you're doing. Well, I'm not covering the theory, and I hand wave here and there, and there'll be a lot of things that you feel like you're wanting to do. But when Diganta will be talking about depoly, you will wish, oh, I wish I knew a little bit more. Therefore, it is a little bit of, I can't satisfy, okay? Both. I'm hoping that I won't feel all of you frustrated, okay, at the end of the course. Okay, so you will get something out of it, and depending upon what. So that's why I say that, okay, at least the tools part of it. Okay, what the tools that are now the current state of the art tools. Those are 3 that I have picked. Of course, there are maybe lots of other things that I have that you should be able to use. Know a little bit of what is inside that, what its strengths and weaknesses are, so that is certainly. Now, because I've covered in a rushed fashion some of the FV basics, I will also be testing that on you to keep you honest, okay? And then, maybe to also test me that I have actually tested you, that I've provided you with enough this thing. So that'll satisfy me. So do you understand? You know what I'm saying? Do you have any questions? Okay, I mean, even if you don't, I mean, if you want some things that you have covered more, you can tell me, okay? But because if you see the list of papers, they're so varied in terms of their the different aspects of verification applied to the thing, that it is a little bit difficult, okay? Now, so let's see, so I hope this will get sorted out and we will all come out having learned, okay, something, and productively. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Now, this, yeah, like I said, deep poly will certainly, and a little bit of Lin's, okay, deep poly certainly will be using some of the concepts that I'll be covering today. Now, some of the things like the other logic part, Hoare logic is something very basic, therefore I've covered. I don't think any of these tools will be doing that, okay? Now, reluplex, as I said, will be directly, will be part of the Marabou. Now, since you're using Z3, you need to know a little bit of SAT solving, okay? And that is something that I'll be covering. Yeah, so the simplex, reluplex, and SAT solving, that will be useful for Marabou. The Marabou consists of two parts. One is the reluplex decision procedure, specialized to DNN, and this particular abstraction technique, okay, that Madhukar will be introducing. These two have gone into Marabou tool, okay, so that's why I'm covering that. And then you will not understand the node merging if you don't understand what over approximation is or what abstraction is. You will be, you'll be completely lost as to why that tool is working. So that's why, I'm covering, spending a little bit on this thing. Yeah, I know that probably I could have done more efficiently. Okay, and but this is where we are. Speaking of which, since not because of your this thing, so I actually lost one class. So I'm doing a makeup class on Wednesday. Okay, now, I will so we'll be back on track. Otherwise, I will not be able to cover all the papers and so on. Now, even if you're not able to attend that, I will record it, and I'd like at least some of you there, okay, so that I'll have an audience. So, so I can be lecturing to some audience. So we will agree on Wednesday. What time would be best suited for you on Wednesday? Okay, those that, would 3:30 be good? I'm willing to come here, okay, but does it matter? Okay, so it's the time that matters, no? Whether it's online or offline. So, yeah, but I'll be recording anyway, okay? And I could decide to do it online as well, yeah? Sometimes I prefer offline because especially now, you will see I'm kind of mixing and matching, selecting slides from 3 or 4 different lectures that Arpan, you and Jessica, you have seen before, okay? So I want you to, the reason I asked you to be here is because I want you guys to keep me on toe. So if indeed, since you know a little bit more than what I'm covering today, maybe you can ask some incisive questions that I might have missed that can help the rest of the people understand, okay? Don't feel shy. Okay, so Wednesday is seminar day, I understand. So in that case, we will do 5, okay? And I can do just online at 5 o'clock. Is that okay? Huh? 4 o'clock. Oh, Wednesday anytime is okay with me. Yeah, see, anything other than like late will probably be not suitable. I'm sure there will be. Is that an important seminar? Okay, no, no, yeah, okay, so let's see. See, there is another one that I want to discuss. Just hold your thought on that. See, Thursday, okay, we had agreed Friday was not suitable for one of you. That time slot. Yeah, because Madhukar, see, once after the FV basics, which is kind of with SAT solving and simplex, this lecture and the next two lectures, I would say it's, I won't call the simplex thing FV basic, maybe you can, but starting Reluplex, it is all thing. And I expect the other guest lecturers to start attending regularly as well. Now for Madhukar, Thursday is not good, especially since we agreed morning, okay, he has to teach there. So either we'll have to go back to Friday, okay, but then for you it is not. So Friday, the reason that we chose 10:30 was because there's environment class here, okay. So I don't know, we either have to have Thursday evening. You know, Friday evening, unfortunately, seminar hall is not available. Okay, there is environment class all the way from, I don't know, I mean, even from 3:30 to 5, okay, is what is listed there. I don't know if it is still continuing or not, because seminar hall might not be available. Now, unfortunately, I mean, I have one person, okay, attending from remotely from Delhi. So I'll have to, I mean, I'll have to do it here. Gosh, it's already half an hour over. So the same thing is happening in every class. Um, um, so we have to decide on that. Okay, otherwise, even with the WhatsApp group, we're not able to do. Okay, so we're still stuck. So what do you say for regular? Friday, okay, okay, Monday, deciding on the time and the time slot and the day for the second regular class. Thursday morning we had agreed on Thursday morning, I think, or Thursday, 3:30 to 5. Oh, okay. So I think Madhukar should be okay with that, I think. Okay. So, okay, then it is okay. Now, so if it's, I will propose on, Thursday 3:30. So Guhan, for you, it was not. It was not Madhukar. Thursday 3:30 to 5 is not okay with you? Oh, but he said that's okay. He will watch recorded video. So I don't want to complicate matters. So we will do Thursday 3:30 to 5. Now, getting back to the special class, okay, we can do it on Friday if Wednesday is not suitable. So Wednesday. That is tomorrow, you're saying? Yeah, Friday 5, I'm willing to be here. Friday 5 o'clock. That's okay. I will do online. I think that'll be a good. Yeah, Friday 5 p.m. for makeup. Yeah, okay, good. Oof. Okay. Do you want me to make it bigger, or this is okay? So these are some examples that is good enough. I kind of showed an example on that day of what things. I mean, this is, for me, I thought, okay, I'll show what looks like a neural network. So I have just chosen which can actually be expressed as a program here. So with this assumption, I want to prove this. Now, if you were doing like forward proof using whole logic style proof, or if you converted them into an SSA, this is how you would be doing. Okay, starting with this, you will get what is true here, and then you push it across the if then else statement, and then you finally prove this. Now, how does abstract interpretation work? Okay, so there. First, instead of working on here, each of these formulas represents a predicate, okay? A predicate represents a set of states. It is actually asserting this is the set of states, okay? The set of values that program can, the variables can take at that point. So abstract interpretation first is it works instead of working on concrete values, concrete set of values, it works on some abstract domain. Okay, in this case, I've chosen to track the upper and lower bounds. Okay, the upper and lower bounds as constants of these of all the variables. Okay, so I make the assumption that this is equal to this, and V11, since I've not made any assumption about what V11 is, it can be anywhere between the min and the max value. And then it has a technique, a fully automated technique to propagate these the abstract values from the abstract domain, okay, which in this case translates to getting the upper and lower bound of each of the variables in the program after every statement in your program. Okay, this is the same program that represents the thing. So this you could, when viewed, in dpoly which implements this, it propagates the lower and upper bound, okay, of values that can appear at each of the neurons in the thing. So whereas here I'm working it converting to program and doing it. So what can you say here? So this is still, it can be anywhere. So this is what is being assigned. So it's between, it can be anything between minus infinity and plus infinity. Of course, I'm using the fact that V21 is equal to V11, and since V11 is between minus infinity and plus infinity. Now here, you could say, do a little bit more because you have information about, this condition here, and what under this condition, what thing is being set here. So therefore, when you're here, you know that the lower and upper bound, if this condition holds good, okay, because here it's between minus infinity and plus infinity, so you can have either of these conditions possible. So either of the two paths can be taken. And therefore, but if I took this path, it is the lower and upper bound is 0. Okay. For in this case V21F. So here, since it takes that value, it can be plus infinity, it can be minus infinity, because this is a case where V21B is greater than or equal to 0. Okay. So, but when you, so then it has to merge these two things. If it is here 0, 0, if it is here, it is a 0 to infinity. So when you merge those two things, it gets this thing. So it is, what it is doing is, it is computing in some sense the best, the most accurate, the best possible value. I will define what that best is, okay? The most accurate value that it can do, okay? Maybe you could do most accurate, okay? So it tries to do that in that particular abstract domain. Okay. Now, if you used Hoare logic, all these things can be expressed as constraint. Okay, because something being a variable being in between a lower bound and upper bound, which is what can easily be expressed as a formula as well. So you could do everything what I'm doing here is there, but there you will have to do use Z3 to discharge it. But in abstract interpretation, you don't need. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit of some idea as to how it propagates these things, these abstract values, and derives these upper and lower bounds without actually resorting to Z3 calls, okay, which are expensive. Now, but there is a trade-off here. Now, here you derive between 0 and infinity. Now, of course, if what you want to prove is the original thing that anyway you want it to be checked if it is greater than or equal to 0, then just keeping track using this interval domain is good enough for you. Now, suppose what you want to check is something like this, a little bit more complicated. That if V11 is greater than 0, then it is greater than 1. You know, with this, you won't be able to verify that. Okay. So that is the trade-off that you have. Because, as you can see, what you're getting, these invariants. So I told you, how do they define an invariant? An invariant is any property, any condition that is true every time that your control is at that point. Okay. Now this is an invariant. It's not the strongest invariant. Okay. It is weaker than what you can say the most strong thing that you can do. Yeah. Which one is not true? Maybe I made a mistake. Which one? Huh? Oh, okay. Okay. So, and that's one. So what abstract interpretation does is, firstly, because it is using not predicates, arbitrary predicates, but a weaker domain. Okay, that is what I mean when I say it puts certain restrictions on the shape of the thing. So, and it tries to derive the most accurate thing in that abstract domain where possible. Okay, it can always derive even something less accurate than that, as long as it is true. So whatever it derives is always going to be an invariant, but it'll be an over approximation. It is guaranteed to be an over approximation of the actual invariant of an invariant on the concrete set of values. And that's why it is sound, okay? Because whatever it derives is still true. It may not be good enough to prove your property, but that's another matter, okay? So that's why when it says, okay, it doesn't prove, you know, that is not necessarily because it is something is wrong with it. Now, what I'm going to give you is some idea of how exactly this in abstract interpretation does this. Do I need anything here? I'll get back to this one. Okay, here is another example that I'll show you. Okay, because that one was okay, here's an example with loop. Now, mostly in DNN, you may not need loop, but if you're going to be reading recurrent neural network, you will need it, okay? If you're using dpoly for recurrent neural network, whether dpoly works for a recurrent neural network, that's an interesting question. I don't know. You can make it work, okay? But then you will have to somehow be able to handle loops, okay? Recurrent neural networks do have loops, and therefore this is relevant still. Now, yeah, read this. Okay, this is just a flow chart, okay? So you have instead of giving it as a program, I mean, I have each of these is like a conditional assignment statement, okay? So I've used the prime variable to see what the new value of that variable is. So you are, it initializes to 2, you're here until x is, as long as x is less than 9. When x is greater than or equal to 9, you move to this location, okay? I mean, you're assigning 2x minus 1 here, and then you are here. When you're here, you're decrementing, and you're here until it should be greater than or equal to 3. You're here till 3, and then when it gets below 3, then you're going back to here. So what is the strongest thing that you can say at L1? Anybody? Strongest condition, invariant condition that you could state about the, what I mean, what is the strongest, the condition that captures the set of precisely the set of all values that x can take when it is at L1. Well, two, 3, 5, or 9, right? I mean, that's the, if you want to capture it precisely, it should be something something like this, yeah? Now, what is at L2? Because it is x minus 1, it's still between 2 and 9, but it can take every value between 2 and 9. Because when it moves here, it is 9, okay? And then keeps getting decremented until x is equal to 2, at which point it makes a jump here. So it is still between 2 and 9, but it can be everything. It can take every value between 2 and 9. Now, if you were using abstract interpretation to do this with an interval domain, what you would get is something like this, okay? It would derive if you used an abstract interpretation tool that can support loop as well. It'll be both 2 and 9 and between 2 and 9 here. Whereas this one will be very precise for this location. It won't be precise for that location, okay? And that's the idea. Now, the way it does is, so these are the 3 component steps for using an abstract interpretation tool. First, you have to make a choice of the domain, okay? A typical abstract interpretation tool gives a whole library of domains, okay? Or you can use combination of those things. The way it does is it constructs what is called an abstract transformer for each of these transition functions. So here the transition, what I call these as transition functions, they correspond to conditional statements in your program, okay? And they are each, and you can view them as a transition relation that relates the pre-state with the post-state, which is what a whole triple was doing. But you can also express them as a transition relation, which is a relation between the pre-state and the post-state. Now you have to construct an abstract version of it that operates on these chosen abstract domain, okay? And then it computes these inductive invariants. Okay, if it's a straight line program, it's just invariant. I mean, if it's loops, of course you need they'll have to be inductive because you have to compute the effect of all the loops. As what are called as fixed points. Don't worry, okay, so this is a very technical concept, okay? A fixed point of some higher order functions. You know, I'll not get into the very deep of theory, but it somehow is something that it uses, okay? And I will give a little bit when I get to you know, at the end of this lecture, so what exactly that fixed point means. Any questions here? Okay, so you understand here. I just want you to get an idea of what exactly it does, okay? what an abstract interpretation tool does. Okay, so interval abstract domain. Okay, so this here is, yeah. Okay, it'll be clear here. Okay, so this is my concrete domain. What is my concrete domain? In order to prove, I'll have to track the set of all values at every point. So I'm using as predicate. So these are, so in this case, you know, if the program is working on integers, this thing will be, you know, these are sets of values, okay, that each predicate can represent. So, you know, let's suppose my universe is just 1, 2, and 3 to fit it into the slide. I'm assuming that. So it has these things, but you can see that this is organized like a structure, okay, where there is, and this is structure in logic is called a lattice, okay. So the structure, these are sets of values. The smallest, there is a bottom value, which is empty set, okay, and a top value, which is corresponds to the set of the universe of the set of all states. Now here, there is this ordering, it's a partial ordering called the subset. Subsetting is what is, yeah, orders these elements in this thing. And this particular structure is with a bottom and a top is called a lattice, okay? You know, for people that, you know, I'm not going to get into the lattice theory, etc., but the lattice is such a structure in which if you take any subset of elements, okay, elements in this domain, I call this is a domain, this is a domain, this is an abstract domain, I'll get you to the thing. So each of them, any subset of elements here will have a unique greatest lower bound, okay, an element that is less than all the elements in that set, okay, but it is the greatest thing. And similarly, you will have the least upper bound, okay, that it has. Okay, so it has some interesting properties. And now here is my abstract domain, okay. This is all the set of values if I'm just keeping track of intervals that I have. So there is a mapping from here to here, okay. So the set 1 is represented as 1, 1, okay, and this is represented by 2, 2, okay, and 3, 3, and so on. And as you can see, and how you get that, the alpha is the function that maps that. And that is the reason it's abstracting is because it is throwing away some information. So here maybe it is giving you all the information, but look at this. 1, 3 here can represent both this set as well as this set, because it is keeping track of only for any given set, concrete set, it is keeping track of what is my lower bound and an upper bound. So if for both these sets, the lower and upper bound is the same. Therefore, it maps both these elements into the same interval in the abstract domain, okay? And the reason I call it abstract, okay, I told you that, you know, over approximation is an abstraction. Whenever you throw away certain information, certain details, then what you're doing is an abstraction. Modeling is an abstraction, okay? Age-old modeling, okay? You pendulum swings, you model it as sine x, okay? I mean, it is really not so continuous. I mean, there is things, but there you're throwing away certain details, okay, and then you are modeling it. So similarly here, so whenever you throw away some information, you're saying that it is abstracting, okay? And that is what is happening here. So these abstract interpretation tools work at the core. It organizes, it has a concrete domain, which is the actual program behavior that is captured in this thing. And you remember that in the Kuzo slides, which I don't go through, there was this concrete semantics and abstract semantics, okay? And this is the abstract semantics. The abstract semantics means the way it works. The program works if you were to be executing it on these abstract domain, okay, elements, okay? And that's why this is an abstraction. Now, okay, here is another abstraction, if you, another example of an abstraction. Now this is, if you want to keep track of only the signs, so this is my infinite, okay, lattice of all integers, okay, the z thing. And if you want to keep track of only signs, okay, whether it is 0, positive, or negative, then your abstract domain has only a finitely many thing. Okay, interval domains can be infinite because although you're keeping track of the upper and lower bound as constants, so the number of elements, intervals in an interval domain could be infinite, whereas here, your abstract domain is finite, okay? So this is something that has no, the least element, the top element, and this, in an abstract sense, corresponds to those set of all concrete elements that are negative. This has exactly one element, okay? This maps to, 0, and so on, yeah? Correct, yeah. So that's the information that it has, yeah? And so you could now do all your calculation of your invariance, etc., on this domain, okay? And you will see for finite domains, it's you can do it. Correct, exactly right. Yeah, that's what that lattice is. So here, a little bit more information. I already said there is a abstraction function. And we also associate, this theory, what is called a concretizing function that takes an abstract element and maps it back into the concrete one. And since this is a many-to-one function, okay, so you'll have to choose. We have to make a choice for the concretizing function. We choose that among all the elements, which in this example, both 1, 3 and 1, 2, 3 can map to this. For all the elements that get mapped to the same abstract element, I choose the largest one, okay? And that's how gamma is defined, okay? Now since I'm choosing the largest one, yes. And okay, there's another one. So then that's how I choose gamma. Okay, there's another property, the alpha, by the way that it is defined, we assume that it has to, you can't have alpha defined any which way you want. It has to be a monotonic function. It has to be increasing in the sense it has to preserve the thing that it maps kind of increasing, okay? Monotonic means things that have more information has to be mapped into things that have correspondingly more information in your abstract domain. So we assume that both, alpha is monotonic, and so will be gamma. So because it makes sense, because you cannot have alpha one element map here and the other element map something which is smaller. So then you won't get the preservation of these inductive invariants, etc. So the assumption is that my abstraction function will have to be increasing. That's what monotonic means. It's a fancy name for if x is something is greater than or equal to y in my concrete domain, then alpha of x has to be greater than or equal to alpha of y in the abstract domain, because it's an intuitive notion. The more information that it has, the bigger that it has to do. By bigger, I mean these, bigger here is according to this ordering. So here it is the subset ordering. Here it will be a corresponding ordering. You can define, which is a bigger interval and smaller interval, and then so on. Okay. So now such a alpha gamma, that maps, that is monotonic and maps it back to something which is bigger is what is called a Galois connection. Okay, so that is a very, very old concept, and that is what is so important about a Galois connection. Okay, So what is important is if alpha is chosen to be monotonic, you define a domain and then you abstract uh, your concrete to the abstract using an alpha which is monotonic. And then you give the gamma, you associate a gamma which is correspondingly is a Galois pair. Then the methods, I'll say it in one sentence, okay? I'm not going to prove that theorem or anything. If you choose your alpha domain with an alpha and gamma that form a Galois pair, okay? A Galois pair means the gamma should be chosen such that it'll always map it to the largest thing. Then, if you construct your abstract transformers in a certain way, then the inductive invariance that you derive in the abstract domain will always be an over approximation. That's what it guarantees, okay? Because you want an over approximation, you remember that. So I was always getting an over approximation. Therefore, that's what it guarantees, okay? So this is in one sentence, if I want to summarize what abstract integration does. You pick an abstract domain and you do alpha, give an alpha and gamma such that they're a Galois pair. Then you construct the abstract transform in a certain way. And I'll show you how to construct through examples this abstract transformer. And then what the criteria is, if you do that, then the abstract interpretation algorithm guarantees that what you get will always be the invariant that you get will be an over approximation of the thing, and therefore it is safe. Okay. Okay, like I said, one of the things that you will have to do is, for every construct in your language, for every construct, by construct I mean expressions, operators, statements, everything, you will have to construct a corresponding abstract transformer that tells you what happens when that construct is evaluated or executed, okay? And I'm going to show you some examples of how that is the first step of the thing. A tool like dpoly, inside it has that. It constructs, it uses a certain domain. There it only uses interval domain. That abstract interpretation tool meant for software verification give you a whole library of more complicated domains, but that you don't need to worry. So learning how it works for interval domain is suffice for your for the purpose of this thing. Okay, so let me first yeah. So the way it defines the abstract transformer is this is how it has to be defined. So if this, okay, just this notation, so this double bracket here, you assume that this kind of maps, given this, it tells me, if I give a pre-state, it tells me, which is the pre-state here, it tells me what the post-state has to be, okay? That's what I'm constructing. It does it such that if I took the alpha of, if I did apply the actual concrete transformation on that is the what I would get by actually doing x is equal to this assignment statement. And then if I took alpha of that, then and then yeah, for any given abstract domain, if I took gamma of that, then and then which will take me back to the concrete thing and applied this, then if I applied alpha again, it should give back the same thing. I mean, this thing will be clear for you through an example, okay? So take an example, x is equal to x plus 1, okay? So this denotes the abstract transformer corresponding to this particular construct. So if my value of x in the abstract domain was this interval prior to executing that assignment statement, what should, with some lower and upper bound, okay, Lx and Ux. These abstract transformers are defined in a parametric way with respect to the, so because my abstract domain usually has, either it is finite or usually if it's infinite, it is defined in terms of some parameters, and this lower upper bound is what I consider as parameter. So what should Lx and Ux be here? Okay, and that's what, and you see in this case, this is the least element, okay, in the abstract domain. It is the most accurate element among all the abstract domains that would capture what the new value, the new set of states is in an interval domain, right? See, I could have chosen Lx plus 2, Ux plus 3. That is also, it includes, it is weaker, okay? But it does include, it is less precise than that, but it is higher in that lattice, okay? But if you chose that, what you get when you, if you chose that abstract transformer, you would still get what I call as sound results, but it will be even more overly approximated thing. So that's why, you know, you have to strive to get the you know, so it would be the most accurate thing. Now, how about this? This is how you'll have to do. For every operation in your language, you will have to construct this abstract transformer. And the way that you construct abstract transformer, there is some leeway that is given, okay? That, as I said, you can choose to return something which is the most accurate that you can ever get from that, or makes, you know, lose certain precision, you know, as long as it includes all the values in the thing. You know, sometimes it may not be as efficient. Abstract transformers, you may not be able to construct that. So therefore, that's why that leeway is given. Okay, given that, what should be correct? Now here, this is the interval domain prior to this assignment for x1, and this is for x2. So so x2 does not change. That's why it has the same thing. So, and since it's minus x2, so minus will reverse this and so on. So in this case, this happens to be the most accurate. Minus 25 to 25 is what I put here. Can you do better? Yes, okay, because here you're not using the information that both arguments are the same, okay? This might work too. This will work too from a soundness point of view. But if you propagate using these abstract transformers, you will not. What you will get will be a less precise inductive invariant when you do the thing. So that's one thing, and therefore you may not be able to prove you know, all the properties that you wish to prove. So as you can see, this works for x. You can actually define this in terms of x and y, and Lx, ux, ly, uy, and you will have to do all the different calculations. Okay. And these things are can follow this. I'll skip this. Okay. It'll be interesting to see what you will have to do when you have conditional. Okay, even in DNN, you will have conditionals. Okay, because there's ReLU and you will have conditional. Therefore, it's important to understand how it is propagated. Maybe if you're not interested in recurrent neural networks, you're not understand deep poly, how it works, this is how it works, okay? On interval domain, you don't need loops, but nonetheless, so this is what it is true. So I'm saying this is the abstract transformer corresponding to a guard, a Boolean expression. So G question mark here is a Boolean expression, okay? Which can appear as the Boolean condition of an if then else. I'm just taking that thing out and I'm defining what the set of values that it should be, okay? I'm saying that given an X, okay, this is in the concrete thing. I'm going to denote this. I'm going to say that this denotes exactly the set of values that will make this guard to be true, okay? So given any X, so it will be whatever, yeah, here I'm assuming X is ranging over real numbers. It includes the set of all R's for which G on X, which is the vector, it evaluates to true, okay? So this one will restrict whatever. Before you evaluate this expression, you have a set of values, okay? Now, after you do this, after you evaluate this, it restricts it to those set of values for which G question mark will become true. That's how I'm going to be defining, okay? Now, you have to do something similar in the abstract domain, okay? Now for that, there is some operator called, here it is called the meet, okay? So for example, I'll take an example and then I'll intuitively tell you what that operator is. So if X is less than or equal to 10, and if my value X is between LX and UX, so the set of values expressed as interval that will make X less than or equal to 10 become true is exactly this, correct? Minus infinity to 10. So what you have to return is if your value expressed as an interval prior to evaluating this was LX and UX, then you'd restrict this interval to, it's like an intersection operator on that domain. So that's how you will define. Now, for example, so here, if X is, that's how that you will propagate. Okay, how will you? So this one in general you can define in the abstract domain. This what it should produce is something that is. It should be the least upper bound. See, I told you the least value that is greater than both of these. I'm sorry, it's the greatest lower bound. Okay, it's the greatest lower bound is what it has to produce. So, for example, if I started with 2, 5, okay, so the intersection will be, we'll get 2, 5, okay, and if I started with 2, 11, then it'll constrain it to be between 2 and 10. Okay, that's what, and that will be the greatest element as per the ordering on the interval domain that is less than both the arguments. And you can see, given any given in this, as long as this is constant, you can do it, and then you can extend that to all kinds of logical operations. And you see, so here this is an OR. So if you want to evaluate that in the interval domain, a complex set of condition like this, X less than or equal to an OR, this and this. the AND will translate into a meet operator, and an OR will translate into a join, okay? So which will take the union of the two things, okay? It'll be like taking the union is just extending this thing so that both of them are included. And that's how you do. Now, once you have this, you can do propagate across if then else's, okay? So you'll have to take x naught, which is the abstract value, in this case, the interval that you see prior to this, okay? Propagate it across your Boolean condition. That you use then to propagate across your basic statement. I already showed you how it was for thing. And that is what you get as the best, the most accurate thing, say, of the abstract that domain value that you get here and here. And then you take the union of those two things. Yeah? Any questions? Yeah. You take the union of this thing. So and that's how it does. And therefore, what you get here is this one. So this path you travel for that condition, so on, so which will evaluate to what in this case? If x is less than or equal to 10, it'll be 1, otherwise it'll be minus 1. So it'll be the union of these two things. X is equal to 1 will be translated to 1, 1, okay? This one will be minus 1, 1. When you join those two things, what do you get? Minus 1, 1, correct? Right? That's right, okay. But what you get is minus 1, 1. I'm saying that that's the best you could do in an interval. If all you can do is express in terms of your interval domain, that's all that you can do. Now, see, if you were using Hoare logic with all the predicates in the thing, it would derive something saying, oh, if x is less than or equal to 2, then it is 1. If x is greater than 10, it is minus 1. It keeps track of exactly that is the predicate which says either x is equal to 1 or x is equal to minus 1. Okay, you cannot represent that thing in a simple interval domain. Maybe there is a domain. There is something called conditional domains. Okay, you may be able to represent it and then build abstract transformers. So you are losing precision here. Okay, join, whenever you use join operator, especially if then else, is one source of loss of precision. Okay, but that's the best thing that you can do. So, because this is not representable, that conditional thing is not representable when so the choice of an abstract domain itself will, and its combination with the abstract transformers will introduce some imprecision that you will have to live with. And therefore, when you propagate these things, you cannot get the best thing. You will see that in deep poly, it does this, but it does few tricks, okay, to get the best thing. And then LinSim, which is a companion tool that works with deep poly, improves upon it, okay, in a way that it is that improvement and enhancements it does gives you improves the precision for DNN-like structures, okay? And that's why it's important to understand this, okay? That there is a loss of precision, and how exactly it corrects that precision in LinSim is, because if you don't understand this, you won't understand what LinSim will be doing and what exactly its purpose is. Okay, so what exactly is, so as I told you, I mean, there is some choice in your, I told you that you can either define your abstract transformer for each operator such that it returns the most accurate that ever possible in your abstract domain, or if you're lazy, you can pick something which is greater in that thing, which has such that it adds more information but doesn't lose any information. Okay, so that you could do. So what is that criteria, which is what I kind of mumbled along in my so it'll be interesting. So I mean, I'm going to skip this slide. I will let you go through this. I mean, for this domain, I've given you illustration for two other domains, which are one, the sign domain. It'll be interesting for you to construct abstract transformers based on that principle, okay, which is what the tool does. And I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go till 5 o'clock, okay, because otherwise I'll never get out of FP basics in this course, okay? So I'll have to do some jumping here. Yeah, this kind of, yeah, this is what it is saying, okay? So for any given f, a concrete function, okay, that maps a given pre-state into a post-state, okay? A concrete function, something is that operates on concrete. So what does it operate on? One of you, forget your name. Sulagna, correct? Yeah. So F will be operating on set of states, okay, as a predicate, right? Whereas F hash, if I were using an abstract domain, will be getting inputs as interval domain, and it'll be giving its values as as interval domain. So these are abstract elements. So it has to be such that if I start with how should F hash be defined? If I start with an A, it should give, if I take this using a gamma into a C, is a concrete set of states, then I apply F to it, capital F, which is the concrete I call that a transition function, okay? Which is exactly, which gives me the post state given for any given state. Then, and if I applied, once again, alpha to it, that alpha should be less than or equal to what I get from, or where whatever that F hash return can be greater than or equal to that what you get. So which means you can always err on the safer side, okay, by returning bigger interval domains, you know, that is less precise than your most accurate thing that you can do, but you should not be returning something which loses some information. Otherwise, what will happen is your errors will, I mean, get accumulated, and what you get will be an under approximation, not an over approximation, okay? Yeah? Yeah, so what it is saying is, how do I define F hash? That's how the criteria that it is saying. So given an abstract element, F hash maps that to an abstract. So if it's an interval domain, if I'm doing a plus, I'm giving something which manipulates those lower and upper bounds. So this should be, what it's saying is, greater than or equal to what I get by first getting the concrete element, element associated with this A. Then I apply my concrete transition function, okay? That is, say if I'm doing x is equal to x plus 1, I'm asking the question, what should I return here? It is saying that it should be anything that is greater than or equal to what I get by actually applying on that concrete element the concrete transformer f. That is, if you did x is equal to x plus 1 in the concrete domain, and then if you did the abstraction function, if it is exactly equal to that, then that's the most accurate that you get, okay? You can choose to return that A prime which is exactly equal to that, or anything that is greater than that. That's what it is saying, okay? That's why I say that you can err on the safe side. You can always, for example, a trivial way to satisfy this condition is return top all the time. Top is the topmost element. But then what are you doing? You're getting an inductive invariant. Like, for example, I told you true is always a loop invariant, right? Because it's always true no matter how many times you execute the loop. So the tighter that you define your abstract transform such that it is as close to this, okay, the more precise propagation that you get in your abstract, the tighter interval that you get in your thing. That's what this thing is saying. But this should never be the opposite, okay? So that it won't, you can add more information, you can return something that includes all of that, but you can add more bigger, larger intervals than what you actually get, but nothing less than that, okay? Now, in the 10 minutes that I have, I will tell you what do you do with loops? That'll be very brief. Okay, see, here are some details that I had. Yeah, you remember that this, I mean, I should have showed you this a long time ago. See, in Horde triple, when you have a predicate, a pre-predicate and a post-predicate, together they capture the relationship between the pre-state and the post-state, right? If you, for this assignment statement, if you're in x equal to x0, then your post-state will be x equal to 2. Another view is, which is what I've been using in all the slides that I showed you. You could view this as what the effect of this, instead of using this pre and post predicates, you can view it as a transition relation, okay? Which is what I showed you in that flow graph of that loop example that I showed you. So here, x is equal to can be viewed as a relation which relates the pre-state x with the post-state x prime. In this case, it says x prime is equal to 2. So similarly, if x is equal to 9, this one, which was the, which was one of the label for one of the edges in that example, the loop example I showed as a flow graph, you can say this one could be this one. So that is one. So what you're doing is, by building abstract transformers, abstract transformer activity, defining that is a very complicated, somewhat challenging thing, given an abstract domain. For the interval domain, you could see how easy it is. The more complicated, there's the ellipsoidal domain, there are all kinds of domains, okay? It used to be that people used to spend, for a new domain, the amount of effort and challenge that you require is almost equivalent to a PhD, okay? So you have to do it in such a way, how do you balance this precision is not that easy. But what is involved is, given a language, start with all the operations, expressions, constructs, if then else, everything, okay? And then what you build is what I call as a post. So given a particular transition relation corresponding to a construct in your language, you, and this one, what I was showing you as double bracket in this thing, it gives, given a pre-state, it gives the post, post state. And that's exactly what I was doing there. For minus x, this was minus ux and lx and so on. So, and of course, you will have to use join and meet operator, like I showed you. So for when you propagate conditionals, merge, etc., you will have to do that. And that is defined as that. Now, here is how I handle loops, okay? This is very cryptic, and I use the term fixed point, okay? In 2 sentences, I'm going to tell you what that fixed point is. Okay, so handling loop. be discussed at the end. That is this one, okay? So how do you compute post for a loop? So suppose you have while C, B, okay? What you do is you define this function given a condition and a loop body, okay? So you will have to now construct, you define this one, given an X, okay? Which now can be either a concrete, if you're using the concrete, it can be set of states defined as a predicate, or it can be interval, okay? Then what this does is it kind of joins, it does a disjunction, it adds X to what you get as a post of executing this one. This is executing the body of the loop once, right? That is if C then B. Now you know how to compute for this. I've already shown you for if, okay? So given this function, which is easy, you know, and if you were doing this on interval domain, you would use the join operator, that's all. So I've just shown it as an OR here. So what it says is you start from bottom, no information, okay? Then I keep applying bottom to this, okay? So this gives the effect of executing the loop post of one iteration. And keep doing this until the new post that you add to the existing one does not add any more information, okay? That is, until you reach a point where you reach a fixed point. A fixed point of a function is, a fixed point of any function f is a value which maps into itself, okay? A fixed point of a function f is an x such that fx is equal to x. So if you keep doing this until you don't add any more information, what you get is the inductive invariant for your loop. Okay, so what is this doing? If you were doing regular simulation testing, what do? You execute the loop. The only difference here is that you are executing with predicates or abstract domain elements, which can be infinite objects. I mean, finite representation of infinite sets, okay, potentially, yeah? So that's what you are doing here. That's what abstract interpretation, if you were doing for loop, does. Now, if it is only a straight line program, you don't need this. You don't need this jugglery. Okay, you don't need to, because you just need to propagate as many as the length of your program. Whereas here, you will have to do something like this. Now, the question is, at the core, where they do model checking, abstract interpretation, all of them use this, okay? That's all they do. I mean, in a conceptually simple sense, that's what they do. They are really iterating over the loop with infinitary objects with a finite representation, okay? You understand this is important to understand, because a formula is a finite representation of a potentially infinite object. An interval domain, abstract domain value is potentially an infinite, right? So because L and U, I mean, they could be anything. There's so many, I mean, if you have real values between L and U, you can have infinite number of values between the same L and U. So the question is, if you use this method, where is the guarantee that it'll terminate, okay? Will it always terminate? No, it does not, okay? So the two conditions where it can terminate is, of course, if your domain is abstract domain, just because you moved over to abstract domain, there's no guarantee that it'll terminate, okay? Because interval domains like that structure that I showed there between bottom and top, the height could be infinite, okay? Therefore, there's no guarantee that it'll terminate because of that reason. But of course, if it is finite, then all your height, okay, that within a certain finite height, you will always cover, you can always reach this kind of fixed point. So finite, structures, lattices, it is terminating, and that's what model checking does. That is the restriction that it imposes. Now here, even with interval domains, what it does is it uses certain tricks, okay? Because it is allowed to always, see, I can iterate up to a certain number of points, and if I happen to reach a fixed point, my fixed point is at the end of a finite height thing, I get lucky. If not, I can throw my hands at any time. I can say, oh, I will pick something which is greater. I'll pick top, okay, something like that. Okay, top is two things. So I can always prematurely terminate this thing and pick something which is less precise, okay, which is an over approximation. And that is what the abstract interpretation tools do, okay? But that is not as simple as that. It uses a lot of heuristics, very sound heuristics that work in practice, that give you not as precise thing. Can one of you go and ask him to wait for my thing? Yeah, and I let him go. So because he knows this material. Okay. Yeah. So that's all. So that's what it does. Okay. So there's no guarantee of termination unless you use certain extrapolation techniques. Okay, that can give you something which is not as ridiculous as top replacing it, but something which is weaker than the actual fixed point, which is the most accurate thing in the abstract domain and does. Okay, so I will stop at that. Yeah. So please, when I give this assignment, please do, okay, make an attempt to solve all the things, okay, because that will not be anything that will have not directly anything to do with DNNs, okay, but that is the thing. That's why I'm giving this assignment. Part 1 will have something for you to do with DNN, okay, so that will yes. Yes. No. Do C and B have to all be manipulating only intervals? Is that what you're asking? No. No. So this is any concrete. It could be operating in any concrete domain, okay? But what I'm saying is the input that you get to here, to this thing, okay, when I show here with an X is missing here, that has to be an interval, okay? So given an input initial state that is an interval, then it operates on that, where C and B are all concrete expressions, yeah? Correct. Yeah, say I'm abusing the notation here. See, this is my tau on the concrete, so I have to replace each of these things by hash, okay? There'll be a hash version of tau, okay, which operates on the hash version, the abstract version, okay? So let's discuss this, the details a little bit next time, so because I'll have to rush. Yeah, I will do that. Okay, that's a good point, yes. The next class, I thought we agreed on Wednesday at, Thursday at 3:30, and the makeup class will be, I don't know which, anyway, Friday at 5.